Hey, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Mzwani Letwala. Um, I'll be moderating today's session. I would like to take this opportunity and welcome everyone, wherever you are in the continent. We say welcome to this very important webinar, which is focusing on Africa. And in this webinar, we are actually launching the updated country saving assessments, as well as the revised model regulation guidelines for air conditioners and air-to-air heat pumps. We are organizing this webinar in collaboration with AFREC. With that, I would like to welcome everyone to this webinar. Before we can proceed with the agenda for today, I would like to share with you the housekeeping rules that we have for today's webinar. Mainly, you will remain on mute for the duration of the presentations. And please, when you have a question while the presentation is ongoing, please share your question in the chat. And also, the speakers will then be able to respond to the questions during the Q&A session that we have at the end of today's session. And I would also like to inform all of you that the webinar is being recorded, and definitely it will be posted at the UNEP U4E's website and the other partners' website as well. So I'd like to also mention that the webinar will be presented in English. For now, we apologize for not having the other African languages that are key whenever we are communicating such important tasks. Next slide, please. So today, colleagues, we have this agenda on our table. We are going to have the opening by Patrick Blake, and we will then get an opportunity to have a deep dive and also a demo on the new country saving assessments. We'll then get another opportunity to hear more about the updated model regulation guidelines for air conditioners. Then we will also have an opportunity to hear more of what Africa is doing in the continent in as far as energy efficiency and regulation is concerned. And we will then have a Q&A session. I would like to reiterate this. Please make sure that you have your questions posted on the chat. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to go straight into the agenda, and I would like to welcome Patrick, who is going to do the opening remarks and also share some information on the tools. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mwazindile. Again, I'm Patrick Blake, the Program Manager for United Nations Environment Programs, United for Efficiency, and very pleased to be with you here today with my colleagues, and also to be hosting this webinar together with the African Energy Commission, whom you will be hearing from later on in the agenda on their work throughout the continent on energy efficiency. So thank you for them for co-organizing this. Again, as described, today's webinar is really focused on two of the U4E tools, the country savings assessments and the model regulation guidelines for air conditioners and air-to-air heat pumps, which we'll go through with you today. The country saving assessments are a platform covering 156 countries. There's new interactive dashboard, and that makes it easier to quantify and communicate on the benefits of energy efficiency. This is a tool that we've had over many years and really advanced over those years. So it's really excited to go through those updates together with you today. Then on the model regulation side, we have the updates for the air conditioner and air-to-air heat pumps. This was originally developed in 2019. So likewise with other product categories, we updated this given technology policy advancements during that time. It's a step-by-step guidance and template for countries in developing regulations in the country. These two tools are really meant to work hand in hand, in that the country saving assessments quantify the potential savings opportunity for countries, and the model regulations help turn that potential into policies. And why this matters now is really that's we're at a critical moment with energy demand rising, climate commitments becoming more urgent, and countries face growing pressure in terms of electricity systems. Appliance efficiency is one of the fastest and most cost-effective levers available for policymakers. So that's really why we encourage them to work first on efficiency, in that it reduces electricity consumption, lowers energy bills, and frees up generation capacity and contributes to emission reductions. Given the current geopolitical climate, and efficiency also matters in terms of energy security, and it reduces exposure to price volatility and dependence on energy imports. Further, this work on energy efficiency really links well to commitments that countries have made, including the global cooling pledge that numerous countries have signed up to on sustainable cooling, and also the global renewable energy and energy efficiency pledge as well. So these tools on the country saving assessments and model regulation guidelines really help translate those pledges into concrete evidence-based policy actions. Then just very briefly, on United for Efficiency, if you can go to the next slide. So United for Efficiency is a global initiative on energy efficiency that I think many of you are familiar with, but it works through an integrated policy approach, bringing together standards related to the model regulation guidelines that we'll go over, as well as supporting policies, so labeling, communication campaigns, public procurement, then financing delivery mechanisms, so helping the purchase of energy efficient equipment, as well with monitoring, verification, enforcement, and environmentally sound management. So the way that we work is really to develop practical tools and guidance at the global level that can be adapted to the regional and national circumstances. So we'll go through some of those tools with you today. This helps in a better alignment of policies and can help reduce energy use, as already described, but really in sharing experiences and harmonization between countries as well. Then on the next slide provides an overview of the different tools and guidance that we have across the U4E portfolio. So the two on the upper left-hand side are the ones we'll focus on today, and I've already described. So the countries and regional savings assessments, and also the model regulation guidelines, and we'll focus on the air conditioner one today. But in addition to that, we have a range of other tools that you see a snapshot of it here, including sustainable procurement guidelines that can be used by governments or other stakeholders in procurement, so more ambitious than a regulation, bringing together other criteria for that. And we also have a life cycle cost tool that can help quantify the benefits. In addition, on product registration system, we have a range of different tools to help governments in setting up a database of products that are compliant with the regulation as well. This includes a prototype software. Then additionally on financial mechanisms, we have a best practice guide bringing together examples of different financial mechanisms for energy efficient products. So that's an overview of the different tools. You can click, go to the QR code here for more details on that, explore it on our website. So with that, I'll hand it back to Mwazindile and really look forward to this webinar and for the speakers to go through the different tools that we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. That was mouthful, and we really appreciate the information that you have provided to all the colleagues. At this juncture, colleagues, I would like to go straight to a presentation by Mr. Saikarin, who is an energy efficiency specialist at UNEP U4E. He's going to provide a presentation on country saving assessments, and he's also going to share the demo on the new platform that we have worked on. Thank you. Over to you, Saikaran.
Thank you, Mwazindile, and welcome everyone. So as Patrick has set the tone, I'll now explain what are the country and the regional saving assessments. So this is basically a savings analysis that highlight the potential impact of adopting the minimum energy performance standards, aligning with those proposed in the model regulation guidelines of the United for Efficiencies on the United for Efficiencies. So these are typically used for 6 product categories, which include lighting, industrial electric motors, distribution transformers, and cooling products, which basically include air conditioners, residential refrigerators, and commercial refrigerators. So why these 6 products? Because these 6 products collectively contribute to more than 50% of today's electricity use. So what these country and the regional savings assessment provide? So these give you tangible energy, environment, and economic benefits. So in terms of energy, we get the electricity savings and the associated carbon mitigation, also the direct emissions as well in case of cooling products. Apart from these, in terms of reduced electricity bills, we also have the economic savings to the consumers. And also because of energy saved, we can try to avoid the power plant's capacity. And it also helps to enhance the existing infrastructure or the electricity grid. So these are available for 156 emerging and developing economies. And these are available in 4 languages, like English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese for now. Next slide, please. So to give a glance on what is the global impact of adopting the model regulation guidelines for all the 156 countries. So we can achieve about 1200 terawatt hours of electricity savings. To put that into perspective, we can almost save the current 6 times the current electricity consumption of South Africa. And also this will help in mitigating about 770 million tons of carbon, along with economic savings opportunity of 110 billion USD, and avoiding about 550 mega power plants of 500 megawatt. And towards the left, you can see the annual savings and the 1200 terawatt hours, how each product, how it's distributed amongst each product. And we can clearly see that room air conditioners dominate, followed by industrial motors and the residential refrigerators. On the right, you can see the cumulative savings, and these savings are about like 17 times the annual savings in 2050. And to give one final clip, so 1200 terawatt hours is equivalent to the combined electricity consumption of Brazil, Algeria, and Indonesia. Moving on. So this slide just gives you an overview of what is the modeling approach, a very high level overview. So we have used the bottom-up approach for the cooling products, which is the air conditioners, commercial and residential refrigerators. So we have estimated the ownership to determine the stock based on the purchasing power parity and the GDP per capita. And then we have coupled it with the product characteristics like the performance trends and the unit energy consumption to derive the total energy consumption. Similarly, for equipment categories, that is industrial motors and distribution transformers, we have used a top-down approach. And for lighting, we have used a combined approach, that is bottom-up for estimating the stock and top-down for estimating the energy use in the future. So just like any other energy modeling exercise, we first start with data collection. We just rely on the manufacturer inputs and other trade databases, followed by data prioritization. And then we heavily rely on macroeconomic data from reputable sources before we finally develop the model. So how are energy savings potentials calculated? So this is basically the difference in the total energy consumption between different ambition scenarios with that of the business as usual. So business as usual is a scenario where there's no intervention of policies, and minimum ambition is where the policies are aligned with the United for Efficiency's model regulation guidelines, and high ambition is more stringent MEPs along with the top tier of the labels as per the United for Efficiency's model regulation guidelines. So moving on. So as Patrick informed, so this has been like we have had the country savings assessment for almost more than a decade now. So, but what is new in 2026 version? The first is we have updated the macroeconomic indicators. And second, we have seen that several countries in Africa, like South Africa, Ethiopia, have also had expressed long-term climate benefits in terms of achieving the net zero status by 2050. So keeping that in view, we have extended the timelines to 2050, and then we have enhanced the product scope, which my fellow speaker would detail in a few minutes. And the most important is we have given a dashboard look, which is more intuitive, and I'll give a demo in a minute. Moving on. So this slide gives you more of what exactly a typical country savings assessment report entails. It's a 6 to 8 pager based on your selections of the scenarios, and it is available for all the 156 countries and based on your choice of which product. So the first page gives you an overview of the benefits, followed by detailed results, meaning in terms of electricity, economic, and carbon emissions under various scenarios, followed by additional savings opportunities, which give you more like other benefits apart from MEPS implementation. And the last 2 pages are about the product assumptions and the key data sources. Moving on. So similarly, the regional savings assessment, it mirrors the country savings assessment, except for it's an amalgamation of different countries. So it almost reflects the same content, but you can have country-wise distribution of energy savings as well. And for instance, here I've chosen East Africa, and you can see these are available for 4 different languages and also in French. So we have tried to adjust the assumptions as well as the language requirements based on the region of interest. So for yeah, maybe I will move on to the next slide. And just to wrap up and summarize, so who exactly can use the CSAs? So the CSA tool supports a wide range of stakeholders, including but not limited to the policymakers and regulators, energy planners, think tanks, academia, and other researchers and developmental partners. So what exactly does the CSA support? So it gives you evidence-based policy decisions, and it helps to identify high impact product categories and prioritize what are the immediate products, and also help to achieve potential benefits based on your level of ambition. And it supports various national and regional commitments. Under national, yeah, it can widely inform the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions, and also help in achieving the shade climate goals at the regional corporation. Yeah, next slide, please. So with this, as you can see, there is a QR and a link. I would encourage people who are having dual screens to just quickly open the website before I give the demo. And I'm just sharing my screen now. Yeah, I hope my screen is coming through. Okay. So the country savings assessment page, as you can see, the first is you have 2 options, the country assessments and the regional assessments. So you can choose the country of interest. You have about 156 options. And then you have the main results here, the comparison here, and the count savings. So this is a little help here. So what exactly is the main results here is the invested that you want to view the annual savings. And the comparison is an additional year with which you want to compare the main results here. And the count savings from, as the name indicates, it denotes the year from which you want the savings to be computed. So I have chosen Nigeria for now. And clearly, as you can see, there's a world map. So either you can choose from the drop-down or you can directly click onto the interactive world map. And as you hover over it, it already gives an indication on what are the priority products in the region. And then you can see a heat map that shows, like, for instance, here we can see air conditioners consumes lots of energy, and that is the most prioritized product. So as I scroll down, I see a icon strip of different products. So once I see which, I see that residential refrigerators and room air conditioners or air conditioners are of high energy consumption. So I can directly click on those products to see what is energy consumption and what are the savings achieved in two scenarios in terms of energy, economic, and emissions. So there's a tabulated information, and I can toggle between these, the minimum and high ambition. So to have more, you should always be under this at the country overview to have more details. So as you can see, this is a graph expressing the annual energy consumption. As I hover over, you can see different levels, and I can also slide. So I can also slide these years of interest, and you can see there's an corresponding change in the energy consumption, etc. And there's a beautiful pie chart, and you can also toggle between the scenarios here. And for those who are interested in just getting this image, you can obviously choose this feature and it automatically downloads. Similarly, we have nested tables, which give you detailed information on the values, and as I described in the earlier slides. And finally, we have the footer section where you can try to generate a report by choosing the predefined functions at the top. So you have all this, and a typical report looks like this. So it's a 7-page report, as I showed earlier. So you can have these reports for in English, and here I have it in French. And also, for instance, I've just generated this report for the cooling products alone. So so this is an example of country savings assessment, and for the regional savings assessment, it's similar, except for you can choose different regions of your interest. And then I have chosen East Africa, and you can see this gets highlighted, that particular region gets highlighted. So the remainder remains, the remaining remains the same. And you can see this is how a typical report looks like. So all these are available for free in the website, so you can explore it. And one final thing is on the towards, as you scroll towards the bottom while generating, you also have the methodology section. So which is a typical document that gives you a high-level overview of different assumptions that have gone into different product categories. So with this, I'll try to pause, and maybe I will take the questions at the end of the session. Thank you for all being patient listeners, and over to you, Mazandile.
Thank you so much, Saikar. And this is a very good tool. And if you know the old country saving assessments that we had in our website, you can actually say that indeed this is an improvement of what was there, and the information now is much richer than what we had. So we encourage you to use this information and to inform the policy decisions from the countries, and also at regional in the different regions that we have in the country. So at this juncture, I would like to again reiterate that if you have any questions, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box for the benefit of those who joined us late. Please feel free to drop the questions, and we will have a Q&A session where we will respond to those questions. At this point in time, I would like to invite my colleague, Mikhail, who is a cooling expert at UNEP U4E. He will do a presentation on the updated model regulation guidelines. And I'm sure the information that is contained will be exciting for you as well to consume. Over to you, Mikhail.
Yeah, thank you, Msondile, and good afternoon to everyone. So, as Msondile was saying, I will present the updated version of the model regulation guidelines for air conditioners and reversible air-to-air heat pumps. You can download the new version here in this QR code that you can see in the slide. And this is the first version actually was published in 2019. And the aim of these model regulation guidelines is to support the countries that are developing or are updating regulations, that they are looking into the minimum energy performance standards levels or labeling for these kinds of products. And also in this case, also we have recommendations for the refrigerant requirements. So they have these guidelines that they are aligned to the international best practices for their use. And with these new guidelines in 2026, they reflect the lessons that we have learned from the implementation of the 2019 version during all these years before. And we've been looking also at the market data and the expert consultation in order to arrive to globally relevant, ambitious recommendations, but also that remain practical for the implementation. So next slide, please. So we have followed the same approach that we follow on all other model regulations for this update. And all started first in 2024 or even before, where we started to identify what could be improved in the 2019 version. Then in 2025, with the support of LBNL, we started to do the technical analysis, where we looked at more than 1,600 models from the Singapore and Australian databases. You can see in the graph here the models from the Singapore databases. We will be looking at this graph later also, so I will not say that much now for this. And we also had the consultation with external experts in what we call the policy working group. So we had more than 40 active people that was participating during the meetings to discuss all the recommendations and also provided comments to the draft document of the model regulations. And I have to say also that apart from these model regulation guidelines, we also have a supporting information document that is also available for everyone, where we have all the analysis on the Singapore and Australia databases and some other information that is important to understand the recommendations on the model regulations. So next slide, please. So what can we expect from the model regulations in 2026? Well, first of all, I'd like to say that this is not just a recommendations on the minimum energy performance standards or the labeling. This contains all the parts that, or most of the parts that a country will need to implement a regulation of this kind. So we have the description of the scope, which in this case in 2026 has been expanded, as we will see in the next slide. But we also have the definitions, we have the reference test standards, and of course the recommendations for the refrigerant requirements, safety considerations, and the energy efficiency requirements for the MEPs, for which we are giving in 3 different metrics. So of course for cooling, the CSPF, the seasonal metric for cooling, but we also have for the reversible units that has the heating capability, we have the APF that is considering heating and cooling together, and the HSPF that is only for the heating side of the reversible unit. And this HSPF is a new metric in 2026 because it was not before in the 2019 version. For the conformity assessment and market surveillance, we have improved also the guidance on that. The labeling, we have improved also the guidance. We will see this later in another slide. And also I will be presenting a new specification for super efficient air conditioners that we have included also in an informative annex. We will see this later also. So next slide, please. So this is the scope of the 2026 version. So, but first, just remember what we had in the 2019 version, that it was the portable unit, the window type unit, and the mini split unit up to 16 kilowatts. So with the 2026 version, we have expanded this to 70 kilowatts, up to 70 kilowatts, so air conditioners up to 70 kilowatts. And also we have included the multi-split unit and the ducted split unit. And we've done that because two main reasons. So first, because we see that these units, they also have a big share on the cooling capacity. So for example, in Africa, we estimate that they represent more than 25% of new cooling capacity. And because we were reached by different countries that they were willing to include these units in their regulations also. So we didn't want to be behind them, and we wanted to have them in the model regulations for the recommendations. So yeah, next slide, please. So here we have the recommendations for the minimum energy performance standards. You can see them in the table here below in the left, where we have the three different metrics, and the recommended levels depends also on the capacity of the unit. So for example, for cooling, for the CSPF, we have a minimum level of 6.1 if the unit has a capacity below 6 kilowatts, but it will be 4.5 if the capacity is between 14 to 70 kilowatts. All these levels here that we are showing, they are in the ISO default climate, but we have translated these levels to 19 more different climates, as we will see later. So it is easier for countries to adopt at the national level, depending on the local conditions. Yeah. Then in the right side, we can see the graph that we had previously in the other slide, showing the models from the Singapore database, where each point here is the CSPF of a model in the country. And we can see that we have units up to 75 kilowatts. And the most important thing from this analysis is that all or most of the units in the Singapore market, they were already complying with the recommendations that we have in the model regulations, because they are quite aligned already with our recommendations. So this is showing to us that there is market readiness, and also it is feasible to implement the levels that we are recommending. And of course, there might be countries that they are not ready to implement this just right away. But for those countries, what we recommend is that they have a plan targeting these levels of efficiency, and they can have a phased approach where they can increase the levels over time until they reach this level. And we recommend that this is done from the beginning in the same regulation. So manufacturers, they know also what is coming the next years. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. Can you go back? Yeah, I forgot about the refrigerant limits. So we continue with the limits that we had in the 2019 version, but of course for the expanded scope. So ODP, it has to be equal to 0. And the GWP, the global warming potential, it has to be below 150 for self-contained units, and below 750 for split systems. So now, yes, yeah, thank you. Next slide. Yeah. So here we have the labeling guidance, and I say guidance because this is not like we have a specific recommendation for the label, because the optimum will depend from country to country. So what we have done is to improve the guidance that was in 2019. One of the things that we have done is to include the obligations for the supplier and the dealer. And then the other thing that we've done is to have some examples of labels. So the model regulation, it has, apart from the MEPS values, we have also higher efficiency reference levels. And these higher efficiency reference levels, they are reflecting high efficient products, but that they are commercially available at the international market. So in these examples that we can see here in the tables, in the table below, there are two examples. Both of them, they have the low efficiency level at 6.1. That's the MEPS that we are recommending. And then for the excellent value, you can see that it is different. So the one in the left is 8.3. This will be similar or close to the high efficiency levels that we have in the model regulation. So we know that there might be products in the market that can reach this level of efficiency in the label already. And then in the example in the right, we have a level of 10, and this is higher than the high efficiency that we have in the guidelines. So probably we will not have any product in this level, at least at the moment of implementation of the label. So the label in the right is more for countries that they expect like a fast increase of efficiency in the market, or if they have long periods until they update the label. So they are reaching some room for improvement in the future also. So next slide, please. So what we can see here is what I was saying before about that we have all these recommendations on energy efficiency is for, we have them for 20 different climates. In the table in the left, we can see that it goes from extremely hot to subarctic and Arctic weather, and also for humid, dry, and in one case for marine also climate. And the numbers that you can see in the cells here is the number of hours that we expect the air conditioner to be working on each of these climates. So, for example, and in some cases they are quite similar, yeah, but in others they are quite different. So, for example, for extremely hot humid is 4,973, and the cool climate will be 784. So this will influence the energy consumption calculation and of course the energy efficiency calculation also. And for climates that they have similar hours, but for example, the extremely hot humid and extremely hot dry, they have similar hours of use, but they have different distribution on the ambient temperatures. We can see this in the graph in the right. So the orange is the humid climate and the blue one is the dry climate, both of them with similar number of hours, total number of hours, but we can see that for humid, we have more hours at lower ambient temperatures, and for dry climate, we have more hours at higher ambient temperatures. So we want it to be more flexible and also easier for countries to adapt to their local conditions with these different climates here. Next slide, please. So, and now this is my last slide, and this is, I will present here the super efficient air conditioner specifications. We have included this in an informative annex, and I say informative annex because this is not supposed to be a recommendation for minimum MEPS levels. This is more for endorsement labels or for procurement or incentive-based programs. Yeah, because this is representing these specifications and representing like really high efficient products, which also consider the humidification efficiency. And to consider this dehumidification efficiency, we or the manufacturers will need to test at more test points that they are doing for the MEPS levels and the labeling levels that we have in the normal regulation, yeah, in the standard regulation. So we can see this in the table below. There are actually 4 test points, all at the same ambient temperature, but at different load conditions. So we have 25%, 50, 75, and 100% of the nominal capacity. And then the humidification is considered in the maximum sensible heat ratio condition that we can see here. And then to be considered a super efficient air conditioner, they will have to comply with this minimum energy efficiency ratio at each of these test conditions. Yeah. So we have based these specifications on the Global Cooling Efficiency Accelerator, where they did several studies and they realized about the importance of the humidification. And also they work with manufacturers to reach to these recommendations that we have here for the high efficient or super efficient air conditioner. So I think that's all from my side, and thank you, and back to you, Sandile.
Thank you so much, Mikhail, for the wonderful news that the 2019 model regulation guidelines have been updated. And we're excited that the work that has been taking place in Southern Africa and East Africa and in a number of countries, the U4E model regulation guidelines played a critical role. And it's good to see that there's new developments taking place as well in terms of updating the old version. So, colleagues, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce my colleague from AFREC, Mr. Nixon Bukachi Ongeri, whom we've collaborated quite a lot in a number of projects at continental level, regional level, as well as at national projects. So I would like to welcome him. He's going to share a presentation or a perspective from a regional and a continental perspective on behalf of the executive director. So we welcome Mr. Nixon, and please take the floor. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Just to take a few minutes to speak on behalf of the executive director who was supposed to make this intervention. One is to apologize on his behalf. A meeting just came up actually a few minutes to this session, and he requested that I read these remarks on his behalf. I would want to start by thanking the United for Efficiency for the continued collaboration that we have had over the years, and actually take this opportunity to congratulate them for updating these tools that we find very useful as we do our work on the day-to-day. And I'm going to highlight some of the places that we've been able to reference them, which has been significant for ourselves and also for sure for some of the partners, the other partners that we work with. For those ones who have been in the sector for long, you recall that we had a similar session in 2024, where we presented together with the U4E the assessments that were done then. And actually, through that, we were able to demonstrate the massive savings that come out of appliance market efficiency transformation. And this did lay a foundation for the work that is being done currently by AFREC on the supporting the development, adoption, and implementation of MEPS in Africa. And this also, I must attest from my experience at the country level, I've also seen this work being used by countries that do not have accurate data to design their own programs. And one of the things that you'd want to know, out of the 2024 reference, we were able to include a target on energy savings as part of the African Energy Efficiency Facility that was established by through the G20 presidency of South Africa. And this target actually came directly from what was there in 2024. So just to show how important this work has been over the years. One other thing, of course, is to recognize the effort that has been made to update the projections, extend the numbers from 2024 to 2040 to 2050. Would have been happier if we had gone to 2063, because now the African Union, most of our documents are looking at towards 2063, in line with the Agenda 2063. But then, of course, this is significant progress, and we do appreciate the effort, and also making them web-based, because then this makes it easier for them to be accessed by policymakers, development partners, and also researchers that are working in this area. Secondly, one of the things that we would want to emphasize for the African Union, energy efficiency is not just a mere technicality. It is an absolute cornerstone of our progress and the driving force behind all our current energy planning. When we talk about planning, even for the Continental Master Plan, energy efficiency is critical for this, because we are aware that the African population is growing, and we expect this population to closely double by 2050. And also we are looking at very rapid urbanization as people become more rich, people look for opportunities within the urban centers, and also the issue of us being able to advance access to the close to 600 million people that do not have access by 2030. Now we are talking of 2035, and others even 2040. So this means that for the African continent, the demand for energy is actually expected to double. That's our projections by 2040. So just to emphasize why we think that with this rapidly growing population, expanding cities, and also more houses getting connected to electricity, we need to have more ambitious targets for minimum energy performance standards. And of course, U4E then contributing to this greatly. And the need for appliances such as refrigerators and air conditioners in specific is becoming a human right issue with climate change. It's not a privilege anymore to have an air conditioner, but it's a need that we do value, and we do look at this data, then providing us a good basis for developing policies around this. Just to quote the International Energy Agency, you know that they have given an estimate that the number of air conditioners, for instance, in Africa, is expected to grow tenfold by 2050. So growing significantly over the next few years, and therefore the need for us to have more ambitious targets, and also adopt more ambitious regulations on this. And that's why then the model regulations that have been presented today make a good fit at part of the work that you're doing at the national level, at the regional level, and at the continental level. And this cannot be particularly very important or more apparent other than this period where we have seen the constraint in the supply of oil and gas globally, which is affecting countries significantly that are relying on oil and gas to generate electricity. And actually, we have seen reports even in some of the European countries saying they fear for the summer because they need cooling, they need the air conditioners to be operating. There is no electricity, there is no fuel to run the generators, and in this case, making it apparent that without managing our consumption, we are also risking making our communities more vulnerable to such crises that are happening now. I'm just going through, as you are aware, we did adopt the African Energy Efficiency Strategy and Action Plan last year at the African Heads of State Summit that was held in February. This strategy covers all the sectors of the economy, and there are key elements that come out of it, which is one, we should have coherent policies and frameworks, harmonize our standards, ensure strong collaboration, and also evidence-based policy making. And specifically for MEPS, we have, with the Danish support, been able to develop handbooks for 4 main appliances so far: lighting, refrigerators, air conditioners, and motors. And I'm happy to confirm that some of these knowledge products have benefited greatly from the model regulations that have been there developed by U4E, and we believe that the new revised model regulations for air conditioners will go a long way in improving the handbook that we already have in place before we do publish it. Some of this information is critical to policymakers like us, regulators, of course, standard bodies, and energy professionals. And we do encourage the participants here, and also for those ones who are not here, to get the information that they can be able to leverage on some of these knowledge products, the handbooks, the model regulations that have been developed by U4E. They're actually useful. And as my colleague said, the work that has been done in the Eastern African region for harmonization of MEPS, for air conditioners and refrigerators, and also for the SADC region, actually did benefit greatly from these model regulations. So as I conclude, I just want to reiterate the commitment of AFREC at working with U4E and all the other stakeholders in advancing energy efficiency in Africa. And it's for this reason that we established the African Energy Efficiency Alliance, where we are able to convene all the stakeholders promoting energy efficiency in Africa to share knowledge, of course, similar to what we have today, to do capacity building and also do resource mobilization for energy efficiency programs in the continent. I want to thank U4E, UNEP by extension, for the continued partnership and demonstrated commitment to supporting African countries in realizing the energy efficiency ambitions. Together, we can be able to make energy efficiency in Africa the first fuel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nixon, and I would like to thank everyone. Thank you for the information you've shared about the work that is ongoing in the continent as well as in the regions, and also the initiatives that Africa has taken to actually support countries. I think it's good that we see that the leadership that Africa is taking to support countries. So colleagues, at this juncture, I would like to invite you for a Q&A session. We've received in the chat some questions. If you have any question or if you would like to share your question or comment through verbally, you please raise your hand and we will be able to respond to your questions. But for now, the question that I have is the first one that we have is the energy efficiency ratio, this was posted in the chart, in air conditioners and cooling, a mean coefficient of performance of the AC of the air conditioner and the heat pump. Mikhail, do you want to respond to that one?
Yes, so if you can go to slide 21, I think it is.
Slide 21, yeah.
Yeah, that one. No, the next one. That one, yes.
Yeah.
So so we can see here in the table that we have three metrics, and these are the metrics that we are using for recommending the minimum energy performance standards and also for the labeling, for the comparative labels that we have the guidance and so on. So all of them are based on seasonal performance. And we have three because we have one for cooling, that will be the CSPF. We are using the ISO 16358 as a reference for this. And then for heating, for the heat pump, the country can choose between or using the heating HSPF. So they will have the CSPF and the HSPF separately for the reversible unit, for the reversible heat pump, or they can use the combined APF, annual performance factor. All of them are based on seasonal performance. Yeah. So yeah, you have different metrics for the reversible heat pump. You can still use the cooling CSPF for reversible heat pump if you use the HSPF for the heating side. Or some countries, if they don't need the heating side, sometimes they regulate only the cooling side, even if it's a reversible unit. Yeah. But yeah, you can choose between these two for the heating side, or using the HSPF or the combined efficiency APF. But all of them are based on seasonal performance. And now if you can go to my last slide, please, Nsondile. That maybe it comes from here, the confusion is for this specific super efficient air conditioner specification, which is an informative annex. This is not for the MEPS. Yeah, and this is based on the Global Cooling Efficiency Accelerator. In order to consider the humidification, they had to develop a different test point. Yeah, And they are using here the EER, the energy efficiency ratio. And this is only covering air conditioners, only the cooling side, and up to 6 kilowatts. Yeah. So that's why it's the EER only. And it's not a single EER. You have one EER for each of the test points. Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit different, but this was done in order to consider this dehumidification efficiency. Yeah. So I hope that responds the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikhail, for that. And the other questions that we have is, can I use the CSA to visualize servings of just commercial refrigerators and motors? Sai, maybe, I don't know, that one should be yours, Sai.
Yes. Yeah, thanks for the question, Mozandile. Yes, maybe if you can quickly share my screen again. But the short answer is yes, you can choose a variety of options amongst the products. So I hope my screen is visible. So you can choose a variety of options. Under cooling, you have 3 subcategories. And under equipment, you have 2 subcategories. And if you just need commercial refrigeration and motors, you can just deselect the remainder and then just. So this is how it can be used.
So
Over
the
to you,
response basically,
Mozandile.
yeah, the response basically, yes, you can actually extract information for commercial refrigerators and motors. And the other question that we have is, how many countries or regions have employed the maps specified in the model regulation guidelines for air conditioners? Maybe if I can start on that one, and then the other colleagues would also add on that. In terms of regions in Africa, we have been able to collaborate with IACRI and SACRI to actually harmonize the minimum energy performance standards using the model regulation guidelines that were produced in 2019. That is now being adopted by the various countries in the respective regions. We've completed the harmonization process in all the regions. And in SADC specifically, we have Mauritius that was the first to actually enforce the SADC harmonized maps for air conditioners. And a number of countries have actually adopted the regional standard into a national standard. And we are aware that countries are actually in the process, several countries in SADC specifically, are in the process of implementing or enforcing the regional harmonized standard. EAC, similarly, a number of countries actually are in the process of adopting the regional standard. And currently, countries are actually, make an example, Tanzania is now in the gazetting stage. The other countries as well are in the national administration stages. So yes, a number of countries are actually working towards the enforcement. And in West Africa, we have Nigeria that has actually enforced the standard, their standard for air conditioners based on the model regulation guidelines. So, and several countries, Gambia as well, has actually worked on the adoption of their national maps, which are currently voluntary. They also are based on the model regulation guidelines. And outside of the continent side, maybe you can share your experiences and what has actually happened.
Oh, thanks, Mozambique. Yeah, I think apart from we have also seen in the ASEAN region, that is the Southeast Asian. So where we have already seen the recommendations aligned with the regional policy roadmap for room air conditioners in Southeast Asia. And Singapore was the first ASEAN member state that has implemented their maps in April 2025, aligning with the model regulation guidelines of 6.1 CSPF. And Malaysia is also on the same suit. Like they have recently updated their maps to 4.1 CSPF in 2026 Jan, and they are en route to adopt the 6.09 CSPF maps in 2030. They have officially gazetted it, and other countries in the region like Philippines, Vietnam, are also and Indonesia are also in the process of reviewing their current levels to reach the regional MEPS target, which is aligning with the United for Efficiency's model regulation guidelines. Yeah, I think I'll pause here and wait for other. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, colleagues. Another question that we have from Kofi, saying that we know that climatic conditions in Africa vary from region to region. Do the minimum performance values or requirements proposed for maps take these climatic variations into account? Mikhail, do you want to come in that one?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, you can maybe go to slide, I don't know, 23 maybe. But yeah, we are considering different climates, as I was saying before. For cooling specifically, we have 20 different climates. So the countries sometimes they can just take one of these recommendations that we have, because all the MEPS recommendations are translated to each of these 20 different climates. So countries can just take off one of these climates that fits better on their local conditions and use that recommendation. So that's one option. Of course, countries, they can also develop their own climatic tables, and then in this case they need to translate the recommendations to the new climate table that they've been developing. This is the case, for example, of Nigeria. Nigeria developed a specific climate table for the country, because even inside of a country you have different climates. So in this case,
Yes.
they did like an average or a weighted average of climate for Nigeria. That is also quite similar to the whole West African region. So yeah, countries can also develop their own tables, and also sometimes because of harmonization in a region, in a big region, even if they have different climates, sometimes you can choose only one climate table for all countries for harmonization purposes. So even if it's not fitting exactly on the climate of your country, it's still good enough for implementing the MEPS and the energy efficiency label, and it's good also for harmonization if you are implementing a regional label, like in the East African community, for example. Yeah, hope that
Thank you
answered
so
the
much.
question.
Yeah. One last question that we have is, it says, will the slider option affect my initial decision on the control bar?
Yeah. Thanks, Fala. I will take that. So yeah, I mean the slider option is more of a on the CSA on the country savings assessment webpage. So this is just a subset of the total results, and it doesn't really influence the report. Rather, it will give you a more crisp idea on your selected years of range. Thanks.
With that, colleagues, I think those are the only questions that we have received from participants. We thank you so much for this wonderful time, and I would like to hand over to Patrick once again to wrap up the session. I think we are on time to conclude the meeting. So I would like to hand over, Patrick. Over to you.
No, thank you so much for staying engaged, all the participants on this, and we hope you found it helpful to go through the country saving assessments and also the updates to the model regulation guidelines for air conditioners and air-to-air heat pumps. Again, we aim this session today as a starting point for the engagement on it, with a focus on Africa. We did an earlier one on Asia, and soon we'll be announcing one for Latin America in Spanish as well. So, but the aim is really and to engage with you at a high level on both those topics, country saving assessments and model regulations. But don't hesitate to reach out if you have further questions or interest on implementing it. I also wanted to highlight and really thank all the reviewers and all the input that we received for the country saving assessments and model regulations. We developed these in a consensus process, and it makes it a lot stronger given the inputs we've had from governments, from NGOs, academic institutions, and manufacturers on both of those topics. Likewise, also in the implementation of the model regulations, really look to our partners to utilize those recommendations as well in the different projects they have on maps in countries and regions as well. So please do keep us updated on that. It's always helpful to track the progress, and it makes it stronger when we know that there's other countries and regions adopting similar levels as well. And really wanted to also appreciate the African Energy Commission, AFREC, for co-hosting this together with us and the broader collaboration we've had with them. And of course, all the other speakers from UNEP for their engagement on that. So with that, again, please do stay in touch on both of these topics and others with United for Efficiency, and look forward to engaging again with you soon. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.